In this week's Torah portion, we're told that we're not allowed to steal. The sages explain that prohibition applies in a wide variety of contexts. Some of them obvious, some of them less so. Obviously, it means that you're not allowed to steal another person's money or possessions. But it also means that if you're an employee and you're paid to work a certain number of hours and you goof off, that's also stealing. And it means the following. We're told by the sages that before the birth of every child, a malach, an angel up in heaven, records the individual attributes and abilities with which God has gifted that particular child who's going to be born soon. And that child, as he or she grows, is expected to use those abilities to serve God, doing the mitzvot, the commandments, and helping those less fortunate. And if that child, he or she, doesn't use those abilities for that purpose, goofs off, or worse, uses those abilities for contrary purposes, then that's also considered stealing. Contrary to popular, prevalent belief, the main reason that God put us here and gave each of us our abilities is not to watch Netflix. God expects much more from us. Every morning when we wake up, we're clocking in. We work for the big man upstairs. And every night before we go to sleep, we're clocking out. And every single day there's an accounting. What did we do that day? How did we use the abilities and talents we were given? And now we can understand a key scene towards the very end of the Torah, when God tells Moshe, that he's not going to be able to enter the promised land. And Moshe is crushed. He begs God, he pleads with him, he prays to him. Imagine, this is the man who went up on the mountain and brought the Torah down from heaven. And the Torah has so many laws, so many commandments that are dependent on living in the land. And one of those arguments that Moshe makes to God is the following. God, I understand that I can no longer be the leader. I accept that. I'm willing to turn in my gun and my badge. Strip me of the mantle of leadership, give it to Joshua, Yehoshua, and I'll just be a regular Joe instead of Moshe. Let me be a farmer. Give me a small plot of land. I'll be able to tend it and observe the agricultural laws that can only be observed in the land of Israel. And God says to him, no, won't work, because you'd still be Moshe. And it wouldn't be enough for you to just quietly serve me. You'd have to also continue to share the wondrous talents that I gave you with your fellow Jews and with the rest of the world. And so I want to end this with a shout out and a welcome. My wife and I, earlier this week, were gifted with the ultimate gift by God. One of our sons and daughters-in-law had a baby boy. And so my blessing, my bracha to our new grandson, our new arrival, is that as he grows up, he becomes aware of and hones each of the abilities and talents that God gave him and uses them to observe the mitzvahs and to help those less fortunate. And I'll let one of his big brothers have the last word.
Hazel time.